Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift, like something unspoken was in the air? Maybe you noticed the forced smiles, the fake compliments, or worse, people pretending you don't exist. You wonder, what did I do wrong? But let me tell you, my friend, it's not always about what you did. Sometimes it's about what you are. People secretly hating you has nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And if you don't understand this, you'll waste your life trying to fix what was never broken. So sit tight, because today I'm about to expose the 10 brutal reasons why people secretly hate you and what you should do about it. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is playing small, shrinking themselves to fit in, blending into the background like shadows afraid of the light. And then there's you. You walk in, standing tall, your presence undeniable, your energy unshakable. You don't seek approval. You don't wait for permission, and you don't beg to belong. You simply exist, fully, unapologetically, and confidently. And that, my friend, is why they hate you. Confidence is not just a trait, it is a silent revolution. It disrupts the norm, it challenges the insecure, and it demands attention without ever asking for it. When you carry yourself with confidence, people around you start to feel something deep inside. A discomfort, a restlessness, a quiet resentment they cannot explain. They see in you what they have denied themselves. They see in your courage the reflection of their fears. And instead of facing their own insecurities, they turn their frustration towards you. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how some people are quick to label confidence as arrogance? How they mock those who walk boldly? How they whisper about the ones who refuse to shrink? It's not because you are doing anything wrong. It's because you remind them of the person they wish they could be. In school, there was always that one student who raised their hand with certainty, who spoke with conviction, who never hesitated to answer a question. And what did the rest of the class do? Some admired them, but many secretly despised them. Not because that student did anything to them, but because their confidence exposed their own hesitation. Why can't I speak like that? Why do I second guess myself? Why do I fear looking foolish? And instead of confronting these questions, they mask their insecurities with judgment. Look at the workplace. The employee who speaks up in meetings, who dares to present ideas, who believes in their worth, how quickly do some colleagues roll their eyes, whisper behind their back, or even try to sabotage them? It's not about the work, it's about how that person carries themselves. Confidence in one person triggers inadequacy in another. And those who feel threatened will do everything in their power to cut you down. Not because you are wrong, but because your very existence makes them question their own choices. Even in friendships, this plays out. The moment you start embracing your power, the moment you stop doubting yourself, have you noticed how certain people start to distance themselves? Suddenly the jokes become sharper, the support becomes weaker, and the conversations feel different. Why? Because they were comfortable with the version of you that doubted yourself. The version of you that needed reassurance. The version of you that played small. The moment you stop apologizing for who you are, they feel like they're losing control over you. And let's talk about relationships. Have you ever seen how a confident person shakes the very foundation of a weak partner? A person who knows their worth, who walks away from disrespect, who refuses to beg for love. This is the most dangerous kind of person in the eyes of someone who thrives on power games. When you are secure in yourself, you become impossible to manipulate. You become untouchable. And that's when the resentment begins. The truth is, people don't hate confidence. They hate what it reminds them of. The dreams they gave up on, the risks they were too afraid to take, the self-doubt they have accepted as normal. Your confidence is a mirror. And not everyone can handle their own reflection. Have you ever noticed how people love an underdog but hate a winner? When you're struggling, when you're doubting, when you're still figuring it out, people will cheer for you. They will encourage you. But the moment you step into your power, the moment you start winning, the energy changes. They start questioning you, doubting you, criticizing you. Who does she think she is? Why does he act like he's better than us? But the truth is, you never changed. You just stopped playing small for their comfort. And that is something they cannot handle. A lion does not lower itself to the level of sheep just to make them feel less afraid. The sun does not dim its light just because some find it too bright. And you should never shrink yourself just to make others feel comfortable. If your confidence threatens their insecurities, it is their problem to solve, not yours. From the moment you were born, the world started building a box for you. A box made of expectations, rules, and limitations. A box that tells you who you should be, how you should act, what you should believe, and how far you should go. It's comfortable in there, safe, predictable. But what happens when you refuse to stay inside? What happens when you start pushing against the walls, questioning the rules and breaking free? People don't like that. The moment you refuse to fit into their box, you become a problem. You make them uncomfortable. You challenge the structure they have lived by. You show them that the limits they accepted were never real. And instead of celebrating your courage, they resent it. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how society has a script for you? If you're a woman, they tell you be quiet, be polite, be agreeable. If you're a man, they say be tough, don't show emotion, don't be weak. If you're young, they say you don't know anything yet. If you're old, they say your time has passed. They have rules for everything. And they expect you to follow them without question. But what happens when you don't? The moment you decide to live on your terms, the world panics. They call you rebellious, difficult, arrogant. But deep down, they are not angry with you. They are angry at themselves for never having the courage to break free. Think about the people who told you, that's not how things are done. Who made them the authority? Who decided that there is only one right way to live? The truth is they are scared. Scared of change. Scared of uncertainty. Scared of what they could become if they stopped following the script. Look around you. In school they tell you, follow the syllabus. Don't ask too many questions. Get good grades. Get a job and stay in your lane. But some of the greatest minds in history were the ones who questioned the system. They refused to accept limitations. And that's why they changed the world. In the workplace, it's the same. The moment you have new ideas, the moment you suggest a different way, the moment you refuse to be another cog in the machine, people start whispering, who does he think he is? Why can't she just do what everyone else is doing? Because your courage exposes their fear. Your ambition reminds them of the dreams they abandon. Your refusal to conform forces them to question why they settled. Even in your own family, you might have felt it. The pressure to do what they did, to follow the path they consider right. If you come from a family of doctors, they expect you to be one. If you come from a business family, they expect you to join. And if you dare to say, that is not my path, suddenly you are ungrateful. You are the disappointment. But the truth is, you are simply refusing to live someone else's life. Friends will turn against you too. The moment you start growing, the moment you start thinking differently, the moment you refuse to fit in, they feel betrayed. They liked the old version of you. The one who played small, the one who agreed with them, the one who made them feel comfortable. The moment you step out of that box, they start calling you changed. But isn't that the point? To change, to evolve, to become more than what the world told you to be? And relationships? Oh, this is where it gets really interesting. People love you as long as you fit their expectations, as long as you stay in the role they designed for you. The supportive girlfriend, the obedient boyfriend, the quiet wife, the predictable husband. But the moment you step outside of their comfort zone, the moment you demand more, the moment you choose yourself, suddenly you are too much. You've changed. Yes, I have. Because I was never meant to stay small. You think you're better than us. No, I just realized I deserve better. Why can't you just be normal? Because normal is just another word for controlled. The truth is, the world fears those who cannot be defined. Those who refuse to be labeled. Those who say, I am not one thing. I am not what you say I should be. I am who I decide to be. Because once you understand this power, you become unstoppable. From the moment you took your first steps, the world taught you to seek approval. A child claps their hands and the parents cheer. A student scores high and the teacher praises them. A worker follows orders and the boss rewards them. This pattern gets ingrained so deeply that most people spend their entire lives chasing validation. They need to be told they're doing well. They need to be accepted. They need the world to say, yes, you are enough. But what happens when you stop needing that? What happens when you wake up one day and realize you don't need anyone to clap for you? What happens when you stop begging for likes, approval, and permission? People hate that. Because the moment you stop looking for validation, you become free. And a free person is dangerous. A free person cannot be manipulated. A free person does not shrink themselves to fit in. A free person walks into a room without asking, do they like me? Instead they ask, do I even like them? Think about it. How many times have you dimmed your light just to make others comfortable? How many times have you stayed quiet because you didn't want to seem too much? How many times have you agreed with something you didn't believe in just to avoid conflict? Society has conditioned you to seek approval like a drug, to feel restless if you don't get it, to doubt yourself if others don't agree. But the moment you break this cycle, the moment you realize that you are enough without their validation, people start resenting. In school, they told you to raise your hand and wait to be chosen before speaking. In life, you've been taught to wait for permission to be great. But why? Who are these people whose approval you're chasing? Who gave them the power to decide your worth? Look at the world's most successful people, the artists, the thinkers, the leaders, the game changers. Do you think they waited for permission? Do you think they stopped their dreams just because someone said, that won't work? No, they moved forward without validation. And that is what set them apart. If you live for their approval, you will die by their rejection. One day they will clap for you and the next day they will criticize you. One moment they will say you are amazing and the next moment they will say you have changed. If you live for their validation, you will forever be their prisoner. But the moment you decide, I do not need them to approve of me, I approve of myself, you become unstoppable. Look at your daily life. How often do you check your phone to see if someone liked your post? How often do you hesitate before saying something because you worry about what others might think? How often do you hold back from doing what you truly want because you are afraid of judgment? The moment you stop caring, the world shifts. Suddenly you no longer feel the need to explain yourself. You no longer seek applause for just being who you are, and people hate that. Because they want you to be like them, dependent on external validation, trapped in the cycle of approval and rejection. Your self-assurance threatens them. Your ability to stand alone shakes them. Your refusal to seek permission makes them uncomfortable, because deep down they wish they had that kind of freedom. A person who does not need validation is rare, because most people crave it. They will dress a certain way, talk a certain way, and live a certain way just to be accepted. They will follow trends blindly, not because they like them, but because they fear being left out. They will change their opinions just to fit in. But you do not do that. And that makes them nervous. Have you ever noticed how uncomfortable people get when someone is truly confident? Not fake confidence, not arrogance, but real self-belief. The kind that does not need approval. The kind that walks into a room without needing applause. The kind that stands alone without fear. That kind of confidence scares people. Because when you no longer need their validation, they lose control over you. They can no longer manipulate you with approval and rejection. They can no longer make you feel small just because they refuse to see your greatness. And the best part, the moment you stop needing their validation, you start attracting real respect. Not fake admiration, not forced acceptance, real respect. Because deep down, even the ones who hate you wish they had the courage to live without approval the way you do. Everywhere you look, the world is covered in masks. Smiles that aren't real, words that don't mean anything, friendships built on convenience, and relationships held together by lies. People pretend, they perform, they shape themselves into whatever version the world will accept. They say what others want to hear, do what others expect, and hide their true selves because honesty is too risky. And then there's you. You don't play the game. You don't follow the script. You don't put on a mask just to make people comfortable. And for that, they resent you. Because in a world full of illusions, the person who is real is a threat. Your authenticity exposes their lies. Your honesty disrupts their performance. Your rawness makes them uneasy because they have spent their whole lives hiding behind layers of pretense. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift? People glance at you, then look away. They talk about meaningless things, but you don't engage. They laugh at jokes that aren't funny, but you don't force a smile. You are not rude. You are not unkind. You are simply real, and that makes them uncomfortable. Because they are used to fakeness. They are used to compliments that aren't genuine. They are used to friendships that exist only for mutual benefit. They are used to conversations that avoid truth. But you don't do that. When you speak, you mean it. When you care, you really care. And when you don't pretend. That's why they hate you. Because they have built their lives on illusion. And you refuse to play along. Your existence is a reminder of everything they are too afraid to be. Raw, unfiltered, fearless. They have spent their lives carefully crafting an image. And then you walk in, effortlessly yourself, and it shakes them to their core. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how people react when you tell the truth? Not the sugar-coated, socially acceptable version, but the real truth? They tense up. They avoid eye contact. They label you as harsh or too much. Because honesty is something they cannot handle. People say they want the truth, but they don't. They want the comfort of lies. They want the illusion of harmony, the appearance of kindness, the performance of friendship. But you refuse to give them what they want. You give them reality. And that scares them because the moment you refuse to play along, the moment you stop pretending, they have two choices. Either face their own fakeness or push you away. And most people are too weak to face themselves. Look around. Social media is filled with people pretending to be happy, relationships built on fake affection, workplaces filled with fake smiles. The world rewards those who can fake it the best. The person who knows how to say the right things, act the right way, be what others want, that's who gets accepted. But what about the one who refuses to play along? What about the one who chooses truth over comfort? That person gets labeled, you're too intense, you're too blunt, you're too difficult. No, you're just real. And they can't handle it. They will say you are the problem. They will make you feel like you should change, like you should soften your edges, like you should be less so they can be comfortable. But don't fall for it. Their reaction to your realness is not your responsibility. Their discomfort is their own battle to fight. Do you know why people gravitate towards you even when they claim to dislike you? Because deep down, even in their resentment, they crave authenticity. They are exhausted from the performance, tired of pretending, sick of the pressure to always say the right thing instead of the true thing. And when they meet someone who is unapologetically real, it shakes them. They might push you away, but they will never forget you. They might criticize you, but they respect you in ways they cannot admit. Because deep down, they wish they had the courage to live without the mask the way you do. Life is a journey, but not everyone is willing to move forward. Some people choose to stay in the same place, trapped by their fears, their doubts, and their excuses. They settle for mediocrity because stepping into greatness requires effort, discipline, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. And then there's you. You refuse to settle. You refuse to be stuck. While they sit in the same conversations, complaining about the same problems, living the same routine, you keep pushing forward. You wake up every day with a hunger to grow, to evolve, to become better than you were yesterday. And that makes them uncomfortable because your progress reminds them of their stagnation. Every time you take a step forward, they feel the weight of their own inaction. Every time you achieve something new, they feel the sting of their own wasted potential. And instead of using your growth as motivation, they let it turn into resentment. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your success forces them to face their own failures. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how some people cheer for you until you surpass them? They will support you until your progress makes them feel small. The moment you start breaking barriers, the moment you start elevating your life, their energy shifts. Suddenly they're distant. Suddenly they're throwing little insults disguised as jokes. Suddenly they're questioning your choices, doubting your dreams, telling you to be realistic. But what they really mean is, stop growing so I don't feel left behind. Because when you rise, it forces them to confront the reality that they had the same 24 hours as you, the same opportunities to change, the same ability to take action, but they didn't. They stayed stuck in their comfort zone while you kept moving forward. And nothing exposes a stagnant person more than someone who refuses to stay in the same place. Imagine two people standing at the bottom of a staircase. One starts climbing step by step, higher and higher. The other one stays at the bottom, watching. At first they're happy for the climber. They say, wow, you're doing great. But then the climber keeps going. Suddenly they're not on the same level anymore. The gap is getting bigger, and now, instead of feeling inspired to climb as well, the one at the bottom starts feeling bitter. Why do they get to go higher while I'm still here? They think they're better than me now. They're changing too much. No! You're not changing too much, they're just staying the same too long. It's not your fault that they refuse to grow. It's not your fault that they choose comfort over progress. But they will try to make you feel guilty for evolving. They will try to pull you back down with their negativity, their doubts, their jealousy. Because it's easier for them to drag you down than to lift themselves up. Have you ever shared your dreams with someone and felt their energy shift? Maybe they didn't say anything negative outright, but you could feel it, the tension, the silent discomfort. That's because your ambition makes them question their own lack of ambition. Your courage makes their fear more obvious. Your willingness to elevate highlights their willingness to stay low. But here's the truth. You don't owe them your stagnation. You don't have to slow down just because they refuse to speed up. You don't have to dim your light just because they're afraid to shine. You don't have to hold yourself back just to make them comfortable. Because the ones who truly want to grow will never resent your growth. They will use it as fuel. They will say, if they can do it, so can I. They will be inspired, not intimidated. But the ones who want an excuse to stay the same, they will look at your progress and call it arrogance. They will look at your success and call it luck. They will look at your elevation and call it betrayal. Let them. Because at the end of the day, you have a choice. You can shrink yourself to fit into their small world, or you can keep rising and create a world of limitless possibilities. And the only people who will truly belong in your journey are the ones who are willing to climb with you. There comes a moment in life when you realize that being nice is not enough. That being available, being understanding, being forgiving, none of it means anything if people don't respect you. And respect, that doesn't come from being liked. It doesn't come from pleasing others. It doesn't come from saying yes when your heart is screaming no. Respect comes from one thing: boundaries. The moment you start setting boundaries, the moment you start valuing your own time, your own energy, your own peace, that's the moment some people start hating you. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because they can no longer take advantage of you. You see, people love a version of you that serves them. They love the version that's always available. The version that always says, it's okay even when it's not. The version that sacrifices for them, bends for them, makes them feel comfortable, even at your own expense. But the moment you say, no, I will not tolerate this, the moment you say, I deserve better, the moment you say, I choose me, because now you're no longer easy to manipulate. Now you're no longer convenient. Now they can't just walk all over you and expect you to smile. And that's a problem for them. Imagine you're a door, wide open, letting anyone walk in and out. People enter without knocking. They bring their mess, their negativity, their demands, and they leave whenever they please. And for years you allow it because you want to be welcoming, you want to be liked, you don't want to push anyone away. But one day you realize something. Your space is sacred. Your heart, your mind, your soul, they are not public property. So you put up a door, you install a lock. Now people have to knock. Now they need permission to enter. Now not everyone gets access. And suddenly some people are angry. They say, you've changed. They say, you think you're too good for us now. They say, you're being difficult. But what they really mean is, how dare you value yourself enough to set limits? Because the truth is, people who genuinely respect you will never be upset by your boundaries. They will understand them, they will honor them, they will appreciate them. But the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries, they will resist, they will guilt trip you, they will test you, they will say, you're being selfish. No. Selfish is expecting someone to give and give while you take and take. Selfish is believing that another person's life should revolve around your needs, your desires, your comfort, while theirs remains ignored. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is self-respect. Have you ever noticed how some people only come to you when they need something? They disappear when you need help, but they expect you to show up the second they call. And the moment you stop picking up, the moment you stop prioritizing them over yourself, they get offended. That's because they were never in your life for you. They were in your life for what you could give them. And the moment you stop overgiving, the moment you stop breaking yourself to keep them whole, the moment you say no more, they call you difficult. They call you mean. They call you heartless. But what they don't realize is you were never hard to love. You were just easy to take advantage of. Not anymore. You are not a doormat. You are not a punching bag. You are not a vending machine that dispenses kindness without ever receiving any in return. You are a person with limits, a person with needs, a person with value. And if someone only respects you when you have no boundaries, when you tolerate disrespect, when you allow them to mistreat you, then they never respected you at all. You see, people can only control you if you let them. The moment you decide, I deserve better, you break free. The moment you decide, I am no longer entertaining anything that drains me, you become untouchable. Because the truth is, people don't like those who demand respect. They don't like those who refuse to be walked over. They don't like those who say, either treat me right or don't deal with me at all. Because boundaries expose who was only there to take from you. So let them be uncomfortable. Let them be upset. Let them leave. Because the ones who truly value you will never have a problem with you valuing yourself. There is something about a person who cannot be controlled that makes others uneasy. It shakes them to their core because they realize they have no power over you. You are not a puppet whose strings they can pull, not a chess piece they can move at will. And that, my friend, is terrifying to those who thrive on control. Most people are conditioned to follow, to seek approval, to fit in, to obey the unspoken rules that society has set. Rules that demand you shrink yourself, silence yourself, conform, and be agreeable, even at the cost of your own identity. They are taught to be predictable, to be convenient, to never challenge the status quo. But you refuse. You refuse to be molded, shaped, or dictated by anyone else's expectations. And that is why they hate you. Because the moment they realize they cannot influence your decisions, they label you as difficult. The moment they see that their opinions do not define your actions, they call you arrogant. The moment they notice that their approval holds no weight in your life, they say you are too much. But what they're really saying is, I cannot control you, and that frustrates me. Look around. Everywhere you go, you will find people who want to dictate what you should do, how you should speak, what you should believe, and who you should be. They want you to stay within the lines they have drawn. They expect you to follow the script they have written. The moment you deviate, the moment you think for yourself, the moment you dare to step out of their expectations, you become a problem. Have you ever wondered why society celebrates those who conform but attacks those who dare to be different? Why it praises obedience but punishes independence? Because control is the foundation of power, and anyone who cannot be controlled is a threat. If you are independent, if you are fearless, if you're unapologetic about your choices, you will find that people will try to break you. They will try to manipulate you. They will try to make you feel guilty for thinking for yourself. They will say things like, why can't you just do what everyone else is doing? You're being selfish by not listening to us. You think you know everything. No, you don't think you know everything. You just refuse to be told who you are. The workplace, the family, friendships, relationships, everywhere you go, people will attempt to exert some level of control over you. They will use their opinions as weapons. They will try to guilt trip you. They will attempt to make you feel like you need their approval. And when they realize that none of it works on you, when they see that you stand tall despite their criticism, when they see that you refuse to let them define your worth, they turn to resentment. People do not hate what they understand, they hate what they cannot control. And the worst kind of control is the silent kind. The one that comes disguised as love, as concern, as care. When someone tells you, I just want what's best for you, but what they really mean is, I want you to do what I think is best. Understand this, those who truly love you will never want to control you. They will never expect you to be anything other than yourself. They will support your choices even if they do not fully understand them. But those who only loved the version of you that was easy to manipulate, they will fight you, they will resist you, they will try to bring you back into their grasp. Have you ever seen crabs in a bucket? If one crab tries to climb out, the others will pull it back down. Not because they hate it, but because they themselves cannot leave. That is how control works. Those who are bound by fear, by insecurity, by limitation, cannot stand to see someone else break free. It reminds them of their own chains. And instead of working to free themselves, they try to pull you back into the trap. But you are not like them. You do not need anyone to tell you how to live. You do not seek permission to be yourself. You do not wait for the world to give you a seat at the table. You build your own. And that is why you are dangerous. Because people who cannot be controlled cannot be used. People who cannot be controlled cannot be manipulated. People who cannot be controlled cannot be broken. And that is why they fear you. Truth is a powerful thing. It is sharp, it is raw, and it is often unwelcome. The moment you decide to speak the truth, not the sugar-coated, comfortable version, but the real, unfiltered truth, you become a problem. Not because what you're saying is wrong, but because it makes people uncomfortable. It forces them to confront what they have spent years avoiding. People don't hate the truth. They hate the mirror it holds up to their lives. They hate the way it strips away their illusions. They hate the way it demands them to be accountable. And when you are the one holding that mirror, they do not attack the reflection, they attack you. Think about it. Have you ever been in a room where everyone was pretending to be happy, but you could see through the act? You could feel the tension, the suppressed emotions, the lies hidden behind forced smiles. And the moment you say something real, something honest, the atmosphere shifts. Eyes narrow, people exchange glances, some even get defensive. Why would you say that? You're being too negative. You always make things uncomfortable. No, you are not negative. You are not the problem. You are simply refusing to play along with their illusion. And that is what makes you dangerous. The world is full of people who would rather live in denial than face the truth. People who would rather stay in toxic relationships than admit they are unhappy. People who would rather blame society than take responsibility for their own choices. People who would rather believe in convenient lies than face uncomfortable realities. And when you come along and say what no one else has the courage to say, you become a threat to their carefully constructed world. You see this everywhere, in families where people sweep problems under the rug rather than deal with them. In workplaces where people stay silent about injustice because they fear losing their jobs. In friendships where people avoid calling out bad behavior because they don't want to lose the relationship. But you do not fear the truth. You do not sugarcoat reality to make others feel comfortable. You do not pretend that everything is fine when it isn't. And that is why people secretly resent you. They will say you are too harsh. They will say you lack empathy. They will say you need to be more diplomatic. But what they really mean is, please, stop exposing the truth I am not ready to face. They want you to be silent. They want you to look the other way. They want you to go along with the script they have written. Because if you do, they can continue pretending. They can continue living in their safe little bubble where nothing is questioned, nothing is challenged, and nothing ever changes. But truth is like fire. It burns through illusions. It forces people to see things as they are, not as they wish them to be. And that terrifies them. Have you ever noticed how society treats truth-tellers? The ones who speak out against corruption, against injustice, against manipulation, they are ridiculed, silenced, sometimes even destroyed. Not because they are wrong, but because they refuse to be silent. Think about history. The greatest thinkers, revolutionaries and visionaries, almost all of them were hated in their time. Why? Because they spoke the truth people were not ready to hear. They pointed out the flaws in the system. They challenged outdated beliefs. They shattered illusions. And that is exactly what you do. You walk into a room and call out the fake smiles, the unspoken resentment, the hypocrisy. You see through the lies and dare to say, no, this isn't right. You refuse to nod along with the crowd when you know something is wrong. And for that, they will call you difficult, they will call you arrogant, they will call you disruptive. But let me tell you something. The world does not change because of people who stay silent. If no one ever spoke the truth, people would still be accepting what is unfair. If no one ever exposed lies, manipulation would thrive unchecked. If no one ever challenged the norm, progress would never happen. So understand this. When people hate you for speaking the truth, it is not really you they hate. They hate the way you make them feel. They hate the way you force them to confront their own lies. They hate the way you remind them of the things they are too afraid to say out loud. And so they will try to silence you. They will try to shame you. They will try to make you doubt yourself. But the truth does not bend. It does not seek approval. It does not wait for permission. And neither do you. People want to believe they are good, that they are doing their best, that their flaws are minor and their mistakes justifiable. They want to believe that their choices are right, their actions are fair, and their intentions are pure. But when you walk into their lives, when you stand in front of them without pretending, without playing by their rules, without covering up the truth,